Hi, so this week I'm talking about Flannery O'Connor's short stories and uh, self-identity and how that influences the way that people see the world. So in O'Connor's stories, there's a lot of characters that kind of have uh, a perceived self-perception or self-identity and self-knowledge, and they come to a point through their story where they actually learn that what they thought about themselves isn't true self-knowledge, and they get kind of jolted and have like a wake-up call to reality. Um, and that's just really, I think, significant in the way that people can look at themselves and can interact with the world. Because when you look at yourself and see yourself through um, a singular lens, that translates to how you see the world, and that just actually gives you will give a person a very narrow-minded way look at the world, and that's kind of scary because it's self-deception, really. It's just thinking that you know who you are, and you know um, a lot more about the world than you actually do. And so then when you have this jolt of a wake-up call to reality, that kind of takes away the anchor you thought you had, and can put you in a place where you actually feel lost. And O'Connor always, more often than not, ends her stories where her characters just face that jolt. But in a very few instances, she'll go a little bit beyond that. For example, in her story, The Artificial Nigger, where the grandfather, Mr. Head, and his grandson, Nelson, they have this moment where they're looking at the artificial Negro in the train station, and they realize, Mr. Head realizes his need for mercy and like how badly he messed up with his grandson. And so he has this jolt of self-realization and like he comes to a place where he has true knowledge, but he realized like he could have despaired through that, but then also realizes his need for mercy. And so I think O'Connor answers this question of like, what do you do when you realize everything you thought you knew is actually false? And I think she answers that with the question of like needing mercy and needing something outside of yourself to free you from the binds of perceived self-knowledge, which is actually like self-deception, and can't be a way that we can truly know ourselves. And it's more constraining than it is freeing, even though it feels like it's freeing. Um, and so there has to be something greater than what we see in ourselves and what we look at in ourselves to actually give us true knowledge and true identity as well. And I think knowing truly who you are and your like having an accurate knowledge of that will actually give you greater knowledge and accurate knowledge of the world as well. Because we're all just small people in a big world. And that's such a hard thing to navigate. And I think it's a struggle that a lot of people deal with is knowing like, who am I in this world? That's huge, and that there's so many issues going on, and there's a lot of pain going on, a lot of despair happening. And I'm like, how can I be anchored in this world? And it's a common thing to want to look for that anchor in like your perceived identity, and like finding those things for like and holding on to it for yourself and creating that for yourself. But I think O'Connor's exploring the idea that you can't have that anchor all on your own, and you can't be self-reliant in that way, of creating your own identity and anchoring yourself in that, especially if it's false, because a false anchor isn't really an anchor. You have to have the truth, and that's the only way that you'll be able to be free and really know who you are and your identity in the world. So yeah, that's all for now.